VAMP, the Prologue. I'm not unhappy with my life, but I have to admit that it does get a little lonely. Sometimes I feel stuck, like I'm frozen in time while everything and everyone moves freely around me. The whole process of people growing old, having kids, dying, the whole circle of life stuff. I'm slightly jealous that I'll never get to experience that. But I don't want to say that I have regrets, because everything I have done in my life was exactly what I wanted at one point. There's always a moment in your life when you realize that you have gone too far. That point where you tell yourself you should have stopped while you were ahead. I still find it ironic that the one thing I searched so long to find, the one thing that held my interest for years, was the thing that killed me in the end, or rather put me in limbo. My name is Gretchen Van Marken. I'll give you the quick rundown of what I look like. I'm a small girl, about 5 feet 4 inches. I don't look like I weigh more than 120 pounds soaking wet. But if you ever felt the power of my punch, you would think my body is made of cold granite. I have bright green eyes. Scratch that. I had bright green eyes. After my death, they turned to a cold gray that is devoid of any life. They repulse me every time I look in the mirror. I have long, wavy auburn hair that has managed to stay the same color and length since the day of my accident. And last but certainly not least is the color of my skin. The skin color is something that irritates me the most. I had always had a natural bronze color to my skin. Now I'm intensely white. Let's go over a few misconceptions real quick as well. If I step out into the sun, I won't die, I won't burn, I won't sparkle. I just look dead. The sunlight makes me look extremely gaunt. My skin appears paper thin, showing each and every vein throughout my entire body. One thing I have found to battle this annoyance is the mystic tan. Thankfully, this keeps me looking human. The circumstances that led me to be in the position I'm in today were caused by my obsession with vampires. I had books, articles, short stories, everything that pertained to the topic. My father was the one who got me interested in the first place. I was convinced that humans could not be the only thing on this planet, in this world nonetheless. My mother thought we were both insane, but loved us no less despite our passions. I was very close to my family. My cousin Adeline, she was my best friend. She grew up with me after her family died when she was young. We were like 2 peas in a pod, to say the least. My mother, Cordelia, was my friend, but first and foremost a mom. Always making sure my teeth were brushed, my face was washed, and I was dressed appropriately and always had my manners. My father, Carter, was a handsome man, tall, strong, and endearing. He was a myths and legends professor and an author. An interest passed down from one explorer to the next in his family lineage. His students adored him, and you knew not to take his class unless you had a sneaking suspicion that those tall tales were more than just stories. My father and I followed those tales all the way to Romania over 70 years ago. My father had been following a bunch of tips about a clan of vampires living in the tunnels under Romania. He was determined to find one, and I was ready to be right there by his side when it happened. We found what we had been searching for, but unfortunately it left my father dead, and I was cursed with having to live in this world the rest of its days. I wasn't drained of my blood and then forced to drink from the vampire who was trying to turn me. All it took was one bite. One painful bite. We can produce venom when we want to turn someone, and that venom is unlike anything on this world. We are also left with a scar from our bite. And while the rest of our body feels like ice, our scar is the only place that remains an average temperature of 98.6 degrees. I'll catch myself rubbing my thumb over my scar on the bottom of my ribs just to feel the warmth every now and then. The bite was painful, but the venom was excruciating. I thought for sure if my maker didn't drain me, the venom would be what killed me. It felt like fire scorching through my body. I remember writhing on the floor, scratching at my skin, screaming at the top of my lungs while the clan just watched and laughed. My maker, Vladimir, bit me right below my bottom left rib so that my scar would not show on my neck like so many others. I guess he was trying to do me a favor. He did many favors for me over the next few years until I was able to break free, which is very uncommon in most vampire clans. Usually your maker has to release you. But there were a few times I was able to block Vladimir's commands. They say it's impossible, and I've never met another vampire who could do it, so maybe it was just a fluke. After I was turned, I was faced with a huge moral dilemma. I didn't want to kill anyone so that I could be strong, but if I didn't eat, I would starve and die. It's very hard to restrain yourself when you're young. You always give in because the taste is so good. I don't like to feed off humans. I try to feed off stray animals, but nothing compares to human blood. Blood to me is like a glass of ice-cold water to a human on an extremely hot day. It's the only thing that can truly quench my thirst. Different blood types taste different, just like different wines and different beers. And I can smell any disease or infections in people's bodies. However, even if I drink from someone who has, say, hepatitis C or HIV, it would do absolutely nothing to me. One way to kill a vampire is to shove something sharp through their heart. Then we bleed out through our ears, eyes, nose, and mouth. It's really a horrible sight. We also die if we are decapitated, but it's not a very easy task to accomplish. So here I am, running around the world. I run as fast as I can in hopes to stay one step ahead of my enemies. I don't get attached to people, and I try not to draw attention to myself. I have everything under control because I'm scared to know what would happen if I let my world unravel.